GCSEs to A levels is a massive jump. There is more content and more difficult content. And I hate to say it, but the note taking techniques that worked at GCSEs may not work at A levels. So in this video, I will go through my note taking process that helped me get 4A stars at A levels and can help you too. So let's begin. So firstly, I would just like to talk about my old note taking habits. So my college provided us with student notes, which basically had all the content that we needed to know, as well as a lot of unnecessary information. What I would do is I would literally copy down every single bit of information from those student notes, as well as any other resources I was using, to the point that I was copying down enthalpy change data, which would be given to me in every single exam, and it's completely useless to know it by heart. Now my notes looked perfect. If I just looked at them, it would make me feel like I was doing well. These are just a genetically identical copy of my notes. I don't have my notes with me anymore because I binned all of my notes on the last day of my exams. Best feeling ever. But this is how our brains work. We put effort into something, it looks good, and we think we have done well. Just like the time I made a cheesecake and I added salt instead of sugar. It looked perfect. But unlike the cheesecake, it took me a very long time to realize that something was wrong. I was literally just doing the job of a computer, just copying and pasting, and my grades started to drop. And then all of a sudden one day I decided that I will just start making my notes online, and I started using OneNote. I don't know the reason why, but this was the turning point. So now I will go through how I actually made my notes and how I structured my notes. So in OneNote, I had a notebook for each subject, and then inside that notebook, I had all the topics for that subject. For example, for biology, there are 8 topics, so I had a section for each topic. And then inside each section, I would have a page for each subtopic. And this could be adapted for every subject. For example, for chemistry, there were twice as many topics as biology, but it worked absolutely fine. So now on to actually making the notes. So the first step would always be the same. I would always copy down the specification for that subtopic onto that page. And the specification is really important, and I recommend that you do that as well. So at this point, I would have my student notes and any other resources which could be useful, such as textbooks or even YouTube, in front of me. And now I would look at the specification, and whichever point was in the specification first, I would start to make notes on that first, rather than whatever was on the resources that I was using. This ensured that I was following the specification in order and I wasn't missing out anything. While I was making my notes, if I didn't understand a concept or if I was struggling with something, I would stop right there and maybe ask a friend or just watch a quick YouTube video on it. And it was important that I understood everything as I was making my notes. And my notes weren't just copied and pasted. I would try to make my notes as concise as possible and only try to get the key information that I needed to know. For example, looking at the notes that college has provided me with, it's a bit bulky and I don't need all of the information as it can be seen from the specification. So I'm just going to condense everything down, turning larger paragraphs into smaller bullet points. And as I'm trying to condense down these notes, I am taking things in without realizing. And a lot of my revision was just from that. I could also add useful pictures and diagrams whenever I needed. And after having made these notes, sometimes what you may realize after doing exam questions is there might be mark points which are repeated but you have missed them out, so you can now just simply add them onto wherever you need to add them. And that's a major advantage of having your notes online. You can add or you can change things around whenever you want, and you won't be able to do that in physical notes. Now, scientifically, the best way of revision is actively revising. From these notes, we can do active revision. So returning to my notes, let's say I have a test coming up on alkanes and I'm not feeling very confident on that. So what I can do is just ask a friend to test me out. For example, they could ask me what a substitution reaction is, and then I could answer, and then work through everything like that, and then swap. You ask and they will answer. Also, you can revise on your own if you want it. For example, here I have a free radical substitution mechanism, It can be anything, but the point is I will try and draw or write out every single thing about that without looking at my notes, and then basically mark my answer at the end using the notes I have made. I could repeat this from time to time to really solidify everything. And this can be done with any subject. For example, in biology, it might be the mark points for DNA replication or DNA translation. It works, and if you really wanted, you could copy and paste these into Quizlet. But now that you have your notes online, you don't have to worry about losing them. You can access them whenever and wherever you need. They will be very well organized, and you can change them or adapt them whenever you need. And you don't have to carry massive files. All you need is a laptop, and that's it. Just to point out, sometimes a combination of note-taking techniques can be useful. So along with your OneNote, you might want to make flashcards or Quizlets. Do whatever is best for you. And just remember, your notes don't have to be perfect. As long as they contain all the necessary information, they are good enough. And as a reminder, you should be spending more time doing actual exam questions than making your notes. I hope this video has been useful. Thank you for watching, and good luck.